Welcome to the First Time Facilitator podcast. Whether you're a first-time facilitator or a seasoned pro, listen in for tips and tricks to make a bigger impact at the next workshop you deliver. And now, your host, Leanne Hughes.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show. I'm your host Leanne Hughes and I'm here to help you create unpredictable workshop experiences that predictably work. Welcome to tip 4 of 7 of my mini series, which is what I wish I knew before I started my facilitation business. Now these episodes are in a big lead up to Monday's epic episode where I ask 23 facilitators to respond to the same question. I can't wait to bring that to you. And doors are open. You can become a founding member of my private community called Show.Up, which is a special place for trainers, facilitators, and consultants who are brilliant at what they do, but need some help with marketing and communicating their value to others to get amazing opportunities. You can find out more about that at leannehughes.com/invitation. Okay, so we're continuing this run of mini episodes and I hope you found the first 3 tips really useful. Yesterday's tip was again mindset. Today we're getting more tactical again. Now, I actually have just finished recording a Facebook Live in my free community, which is called the Flip Chart. And what I was going to do was actually repurpose that, well, not repurpose, but take that content, what I picked up from that and record a special episode. But I thought, hang on, why don't I just share with you how the live went? Because I think as facilitators, you might be able to listen to this and actually you can listen to it for the content, but also look down on it and think, okay, what's Leanne doing in her Facebook Live that I could potentially bring into my broadcasts or webinars as well? So I haven't edited anything out, and that was hard for me, to be honest. There's some times I think, oh gosh, I should have deleted that. But I thought, let's be transparent. Let's share with you what a Facebook Live is about in terms of interacting. And that's probably the main thing. You don't want it to be a monologue. You want to actually bring in the people that are there. And luckily I had a few people on there that actually provided a lot of questions and commentary that helped direct the conversation into, I had my post-it notes ready for this one, but I've actually got some new ideas based on what happened in the live this morning. So I thought I'd share that with you. The audio quality isn't as great as me hopping on my proper microphone, but hopefully you can stick with it and find a lesson in terms of how to interact with the audience while going live. I've been doing a few of these flip chart lives every Friday for the last few weeks, and every time I feel more confident, but I think I'm still no expert. So, I mean, if you've been on live for a while and you listen to this and think, oh, Leanne, you could do so much better, please let me know what I should be doing. Send me an email, hello@leannehughes.com. All right, I will leave you to it. Here is tip number 4 for you. Hello, flip charters. How is everyone's Friday going? Or if you're joining in on Thursday evening, where if you're in the States or Europe, thanks for joining us. Now, what I've noticed about Facebook Live and what I've read about since starting these Friday morning flip chart pre-start sessions is that there is a bit of a delay. So when you are, just some tips before we even sort of really launch in. Hey, Suzanne, good to see you. Thanks for the wave. When you do start a Facebook Live, there is actually about a 30-second lag before other people can watch. So it's worth just chewing the fat like I'm doing before you kind of officially launch in. So if you are joining us, give us a wave, drop an emoji, let us know how you're feeling today. Or if you like, let us know what you should be doing rather than watching me live right now. What should you be doing? It's so funny because during this time, there is so much great content out there. That's people going live, there's webinars, and it's really hard to choose between what you're meant to be doing and also taking the opportunity. And I heard 2 really good phrases. I think we all know the phrase FOMO, the fear of missing out. And a brand new phrase I heard today, earlier this week from both, actually heard it on the same day, from Michael Bungay-Stania. He used it in his latest newsletter, and Steph Houston. And the phrase is JOMO, J-O-M-O. JOMO is the joy of missing out. So love that. Yeah, let us know where you're dialing in from. If you are watching this not in real time, if you're watching the recording, just hit record below so I can see that you tuned in. And thanks for joining me on your Friday. So what I'm talking about today are a few different things. I guess I got a bit of a draft agenda in the form of different post-it notes here. What you will notice that's probably a bit different from the last time I went live on my phone is that I've got some floating shelves now. courtesy of Bunnings. So that's been a good development. So welcoming you flip charters, talking about social credibility as well. So what is that? What does social credibility actually mean? And if you have any questions as well, please type them in. I don't want this to be a complete monologue. I don't want it to feel like that. So if you've got questions or comments, just enter them in the commentary. All right. So first of all, welcome you flip charters to the group. Again, we've had so many people join this week. I think the word of mouth about how helpful everyone is in this community, how much we support each other, how much we enjoy sharing our workshop wins, and also our tech challenges. I've noticed a lot this week that we're now being forced with our clients to use different tech. And I'm a big Zoom fan. I love running things on Zoom, but I've got a client that works a lot on Microsoft Teams. So earlier this week, I was actually invited to be a guest speaker for a high school in Victoria. It was a business studies group, and they invited me for a 30-minute just talk about what talent management and development is, why it's important to train people if you want to actually create a great company culture. So I prepared everything. I dialed in 10 minutes before and it locked me out. I tried every password. I got the teacher to resend me new links, new logins, and nothing worked. It was just super hard to get in. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. That presentation didn't happen. And a couple of lessons from that. Number one, what I should have done, and I should know this, I talk about preparation all the time on the podcast. Welcome if you're just joining us. We're talking about social proof, but I'm just sharing a bit of a story of a tech thing that happened to me earlier this week. Hey, Becky, good to see you. Becky, if you don't know and you love Clifton Strengths or you haven't heard of it, Becky is a bit of a celebrity in the Clifton Strengths space and does a lot of great work along with Murray Guest, who is also in the flip chart and has been a guest on the show. And so yeah, what I should have done with this Microsoft Teams experience was I should have dialed in the day before, made sure that I could log in, that I could access the room, because yeah, it all failed. It all failed on Wednesday, which was so disappointing. I felt really bad about not being able to log into that call and be the guest speaker. So what I did after that was I recorded a message on video. I uploaded it as an unlisted video to YouTube, where I apologized about the tech, and then I shared a few key things that I was going to share with them if I had made the call live, and promised that we'd get another time to reschedule. Yes, Becky, it's true. And if there is a delay between your comment and me responding, that is a Facebook Live thing. There's usually about a 10 to 15 second lag between you seeing what I'm putting out and you commenting. So I'm not, I love to respond in real time, but it's part of the tech, right? So that's what I did because I felt so bad. And but Kate, the teacher, was like, oh my gosh, they love this video. They really appreciated it. So that's an option for you. If tech is not working for you and you feel really bad like I did, maybe shoot a video and share those key messages with them. Okay, so new flip charters in the group. What you'll see when you join are just so many people that love responding to your questions, but we also want to hear some of your challenges and some of your victories in workshops too. So please don't hesitate to share all that in the group. You can also search, there's a tab on the left, and you can do this with every Facebook group. But if you are looking for things like activities, specific hacks on certain pieces of software, you can just search for words like Zoom or MS Teams in the search function. Or, even a lot of people this week have posted about whiteboarding and group collaboration tools. Search for words like Mural. That's one that's been used a lot. Google Docs, people are using too. Lisa, thank you so much. Yeah, because I was just thinking, I feel so bad. Well, first of all, I was really excited about being a guest speaker. I haven't spoken in front of high school students for 20 years. So it's my 20-year high school reunion this year. If we can make it, it might have to go virtual. So I was actually really excited about what can I share with high school students? How can I encourage them into this field? Because I think that what we do as facilitators is the best career in the world. I'm super passionate about it. And I really wanted to sell that idea to them. So it was, it kind of sucked that I couldn't make it. But the video was good, and I'm glad it was like a stopgap, and we'll definitely reschedule. Cool, so flip charters are in. Okay, what I want to talk about is social proof. And if you are joining us live, what do you think, in a word, what do you think social proof actually means? Or what do you think of? What's one word that would describe it? social proof. This lag thing is so hard. If I was going to, for me, when I hear the word social proof, what I think of straight away is credibility. I think about credibility. So let's talk about social proof in the context of facilitation. Often in workshops, and I have done it myself. I'm not talking about anyone else here. I have done this. Testimonies. Yeah, I was about to talk about testimonials, Becky, so that's fantastic that you've prompted that. Social proof. Yeah, the lag thing is annoying. Social proof, actually, before I kick off social proof, the reason I'm talking about social proof today is because every day this week, I have brought out a daily podcast episode. And these episodes really focus around the one question: what is the number one thing that I wish I knew before I started my facilitation business? What this 7-part episode trail is leading up to is an episode next Monday where I've got 23 actually facilitators from around the world sharing the one thing they wish they knew. So I'm kind of doing a bit of a pre-roll launch to the big epic episode. And today's episode, which I'm yet to record, I'll record after this, is about social proof. So I'm hopping on here just to hear what you think about it, and what it means to you. So social proof, in terms of what I think, well, back in the day, this is really first time facilitator land, I would always get up and give this introduction about myself. I'll get up there and go, hi, I'm Leanne, and this is what I've studied, and blah, blah, blah. And I think we do see that a lot, even on webinars, right? I've been on a lot of webinars where the first 5 or 10 minutes is just about the person presenting. And if you listen to my conversation with Dr. JJ Peterson from StoryBrand, we really delved into this topic. It was a few episodes ago. Definitely recommend listening to it. StoryBrand are amazing, by the way. Love that podcast. Dr. JJ Peterson said the worst thing that you can do is get up there. He said, if you're being chosen and selected to present, you've already got the credibility. You don't need to prove it again. And he suggests starting with the problem. So what is the problem? So I guess the problem for me with social proof is that we often see too often facilitators and speakers get up there and just spend the first 5 or 10 minutes talking about themselves, and it can disconnect from that. Becky, I think of those little counters at the bottom of people's websites on their sales page. I haven't thought about it much as a live facilitator. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I've got one of those on my sales page at the moment. That's all brings in the whole scarcity mindset, I think. That's the marketing tactic behind it, is because people don't want to miss out. FOMO coming back in again. So how do you build your credibility as a facilitator if you are working with a new audience? I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do behind the scenes. So I want to talk a bit about that. Let's talk about, first of all, even getting you the gig as a facilitator if you work externally. How do you create social proof that way? Now, there's many different ways, and a book that I've got in the background is a green book. It's called The Thought Leaders Practice. Free PDF. I'll put a link to it in the comments after this live. Probably one of the best books about how you can build up credibility with your own thought expertise. They talk about things like content creation, writing a book. I mean, that's the ultimate, right? Having a book, how cool. Anyone, one day I'll get there, I'd love to write a book. But if you're an author, that's a huge boost in your social proof. If you've been on some TV shows, that's social proof. If you've got a podcast, it's social proof. But let's talk about the concept of a website. And if you saw the other week, I posted on the flip chart, I had Pat Flynn from the Smart Passive Income podcast review my website in real time. And he said something that was so obvious. And he said, if you're selling your services as a facilitator or a trainer, you're really selling yourself. You're selling yourself. That can be tricky, right? Actually selling yourself. It's difficult to see your value when you're inside your head. You think, oh, everyone knows this stuff. And so social proof is getting, I think, and Becky, you said it too, testimonials. It's getting third parties to verify your standing as a facilitator or a consultant or a trainer. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. One, testimonials, absolutely. So if you are finding it tough to get a testimonial, it doesn't have to be an ask like you would over an email. And I've got a special template I use to do that. But one thing that you can start to do, probably something very actionable, is why not hop onto LinkedIn now and just write a recommendation for someone else? And do that with don't expect to get anything in return. Just put out a few sort of recommendations for people that you really admire, really respect, have found great working with. Particularly at this time, actually, I've had a lot of friends this week who have been made redundant. So it's probably a good time for me, actually, a good reminder for myself to hop onto their LinkedIn pages and just tell them how great they were and how much I enjoyed working with them. Get used to the language around that and how you feel writing it. What you will find, again, don't do it with any expectation of response, but I know when I get a recommendation, I just am so overjoyed that I feel like reaching out to that person and giving them one back. So do it without expectation, but it's a nice credibility booster as well. And you can repurpose your LinkedIn recommendations onto your website, onto the front page of your website, but ask first before you do that. So that's one tip. Secondly, on testimonials, I went to a workshop in Singapore that Sean D'Souza ran. He's amazing. He has a 3-day workshop. I talk about it. He has a company called Psychotactics. It's all about brain tactics. Now, what he did in his 3-day workshop, on the 3rd day in the morning, he's like, if you want to come in early, I would love for you to come in. Let's grab a coffee and I'm going to video you and interview you about this workshop and the value that you got out of it. So he actually embedded testimonial time within the workshop, because I think that's the hardest part, right? At the end, we have like feedback forms, or we might send a survey afterwards, but we've lost the opportunity. It's like we talk about a captive audience. Once they're out of the room, people are moving on with their lives. They've got other things to do. So Sean very cleverly weaves it into the day and makes it kind of fun. Like you get to hang out with Sean more, just get in early, have a conversation. Like I was overjoyed. We were all there lining up. We were lining up to be interviewed for his testimonial. Like that's amazing, right? So that's another idea. I also see, and this is very common, is to post up logos of the clients that you've worked with. So clients that I've previously worked for include, and you have their logos on your front page. Again, seek permission to do that. And if you are really focused on one industry, make sure that you boost that. But if you do like serving a variety of industries, then maybe you can put a variety of logos. So when someone is looking at that website, they think, oh yeah, I work in the retail industry. Leanne solely doesn't work with mining companies. So yeah, there's potential there. People want to sort of see their problem reflected in what you're offering. Becky, have I done something like that yet in my live events? No, I haven't. And this is another thing actually, what was interesting about the Pat Flynn website review is everything he said, I knew. I knew these things. And Becky, I'm here telling you, weave in the testimonial video as part of your workshops. It's easy for me to tell you that. Have I done it yet? No. Because what I have found, a lot of my workshops are kind of sprints, or it's been the client are actually, it's a very confidential thing, so I can't really maximize an opportunity or share photos or use their logo and things. So that there it gets a bit iffy. Where I probably will do it is if I'm running running like a public event that people are in, I might incorporate it there, but you definitely need that time. And the value with, hey Neha, the value with Sean's workshop was that it was spaced out over 3 days, and the pace of it there's a lot of space in between to do things like that. And so yeah, by the 3rd day, we were just chomping at the bit to be part of his video testimonial. And he actually said that, and it wasn't a surprise. So how he framed it was on day 1, he actually said, by the way, I would love to get your testimonial. There's going to be time on day 3 in the morning to do that. So he was planting the seed the whole way through, rather than getting to the end of the workshop and going, right, does anyone have time to film this? Because at the end of a workshop, it's probably the last thing you want to do. You want to get out, have a shower, get ready for the final night drinks. Well, that's me. So yeah, Suzanne Rose, I think, Suzanne, we're talking about you today, Chris and I think I said something about you, and Chris is like, I love Suzanne. I'm like, we love you, Suzanne. So you've got a great personal brand. So So yeah, testimonial videos are great. You can repurpose that. You can hop onto a website like Temi, Temi.com, or rev.com, rev.com, and get that transcribed, and that can go on again to your sales page as well. Okay, that's just websites. Oh my gosh. I've got 2 more that I want to talk about. The second one is stories. So stories we know are super effective. How I've seen this work really well, there's a guy in the flip chart community, his name is Tim Pence, and I observed him facilitating last year it was. I flew down to Sydney, and the funny thing about this was he was teaching people how to tell stories, but in his own story, he was just building his credibility the whole way. He was telling a story about a time that he was facilitating at an executive retreat in the most amazing location with a group of corporate banking executives. Okay, so he wasn't saying to the group, oh, I've worked with banking executives and da-da-da. He incorporated into his story. So there's ways of being very subtle in building your credibility through the examples that you share and the stories that you share without being so obvious around it. And I love that example. No problems anyhow, that's all right. Thank you for joining me in your in-between space. I like to call it the liminal space. Becky, have you heard of Otter AI? Oh yes, I love Otter. So I'll tell you, Becky, what I did. So when I was writing the invitation for Show.Up, which is the new community that I've opened up this week, you can view it at leannehughes.com/invitation. I had in my calendar to write the invitation letter, and I was like, I don't want to sit. I've been on a lot of Zoom calls, and I don't want to sit in front of this computer again and write this invitation letter. I can think of nothing more boring, to be honest, at the time. So what I did, Becky, is I've got Otter AI on my phone. I got my AirPods in and I went for a big walk. It was about 4 kilometers, so that's 2.5 miles, I think, for you. And I was just talking about, okay, what do I want to offer in this community? And I had Otter open and it transcribed everything I said. So I was just riffing on myself, going for a walk. This is what I've seen. This is my vision. This is what I want it to be. This is the kind of people it will be for. I was like kind of podcast interviewing myself. Otter recorded that, got home, got the transcribe in Google Docs and just edited it. So how good is that? I'm thinking on that note, Becky, of using that for even for writing a book, right? You could just go for a walk every morning for an hour and just write a book. Now, when you get home, you see that the punctuation's a bit terrible and I get a few words confused in there. So you're like, I didn't say that. But it actually gets that flow of ideas. And as you said, extroverts, yep. I mean, you can probably see it now. I actually think by talking. So I love that. You can exercise and write a book, exercise, write an invitation page, exercise, write a podcast episode, whatever content you're thinking about. That's the kind of tools and strategies I'll talk about in the Show.Up community. Okay, and the last one I put for social proof, but there's so many more, is your biography. So when I was running a team session a couple of months ago, the client actually said, all right, we're engaging Leanne Hughes as a facilitator. They sent the email out and I was CC'd on that. And what I noticed that day were so many people were like jumping onto my LinkedIn profile to see who I was, which is great. Like, isn't that cool? Kind of curious. But then I was like, oh, I hope what they're seeing is okay. And it's probably worth, I talked about LinkedIn and giving recommendations to other people earlier in this live, but maybe it's worth hopping onto your own LinkedIn profile with fresh eyes or getting a friend to peer review it and go, look, does this actually capture what you do and who you are? Because people are making, and it was back to my 12 rules for facilitation based on what Priya Parker says, like the event's begun before it has even begun. So people are forming their own impressions about you before you've even stepped into the room and introduced yourself. Or so making sure that your LinkedIn profile and your website really do reflect the type of facilitator that you are, I think is important. Okay, well, Neha here, processing as I speak and write. My husband says, so what's your point? I say nothing. I am thinking as I speak. What is the point? Neha, you got to jump on a live as well. And this is so much fun because like I've got ideas. I had ideas on what I was going to talk about, but through this, just being able to riff off your comments, it's gone in a different direction, which I love, which I so love. So that's it. Website, boosting that up, trying to get testimonials woven through your workshops, so maybe setting some time in the agenda outside of the time that you're allocated to encourage people to come in. Stories, work on your stories. How can your stories boost your credibility without you having to show off and tell people what you've done? Make it really kind of subtle. It's like a kind of secret agent move, I would say. The James Bond move is to have a story that demonstrates your credibility without you actually telling everyone how great you are. And then working on your bio, or where people can see you and thinking, does that actually reflect who I am as a facilitator? So these tips I'm going to package up and put out in a podcast episode I'll record very shortly. And so this is episode 4 today. I've released 3 episodes so far. I've got 3 more to go before Monday's episode, which is me asking 23 facilitators, what is the number 1 tip you wish you knew when you started your facilitation business? And then doors close for my community, which is called Show.Up. Now, this is a community for trainers, consultants, and facilitators who love what they do. They're brilliant facilitators, but they don't know how to market themselves. So that closes on Tuesday. I've just put out the founding members invitation. If you watch Schitt's Creek, David Rose talks about a soft launch. So this is a soft launch. And that closes on Tuesday. Doors will be closed for a few months while I give the founding members a lot of loving, a lot of coaching, and a lot of workshopping together on how we can get better at marketing. Now, I'm all about attraction marketing, not aggressive sales tactics. So yeah, that's my style and that's what I'll be sharing with the group. Okay, Becky, let's have a look here. Website logos, videos from workshops, during, after, working your credibility into your stories, work on online bios. Oh, wow, you're brilliant at recapping. How do you do it? I said to Murray, and I spoke earlier this week, and he mentioned that you're both sort of partnering on projects, and you've got a busy family life as well. So I would love to hear how you do that. Well, definitely, I've got to reach out to you, Becky, and get you on the show to talk through that. So if you've got any questions, I might wait a little. I'll just wait a couple of minutes or so to see if there's any questions that come through or any more comments. But yeah, the Friday Kickstart's super fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's a good opportunity, like you said, Neha, just to get your ideas out, because things can just evolve as you talk them through. And some key apps we talked about in this one were, I mentioned Rev and Temi for transcription, but Otto.ai is super. Suzanne, I want to capture video testimonials from my workshop participants to A, play to the bosses to help prove that we're on the right track, and B, for marketing purposes. Thanks for the great idea. No problem, Suzanne. Now, I've got to say something. People get really weird on video, by the way. And this also happens in podcast interviews. We'll be recording, then we'll end the conversation. I press stop, and then the guest will say the most amazing thing. So what I'd probably suggest, Suzanne, if you're framing this up, I might even put a photo of how I'd do it. So I'd have the participant sitting in a chair or standing up, whatever they feel comfortable doing. I would have your camera, so your phone, on a tripod framed towards them, but then I would stand to the side of the phone. Don't stand behind it, just hit record, stand to the side and get them talking to you. So they're not talking to the camera, they're talking to you in a conversation. That will distract them from the fact that they're away from the camera, because when people are on camera and they're not used to it, they freak out. Like something about the cortisol, I don't know, people get really nervous. I shouldn't say I don't know, I totally know. Like even before I hit record here, I was like, going live. But the more you do it, like everything else, like becoming a great trainer and facilitator, it's about getting time on your feet. They do get weird. So you want to make it as unweird for them as possible. So don't go like talk to them and go, right, I'm going to hit record now. Just hit record, set it up, and then just talk to them. And you'll get something really natural that really does reflect how great your workshops were. Yeah. Cool, no problem. And I think such a great strategy to get people in organizations excited about training is actually hearing it from people within the company, not the trainers and the L&D team talking about how great the program is. It needs to come from your participants. That's the best type of social proof. So thank you for adding that as an idea. I'll pop it in my podcast. Okay, thanks, Becky. You got to go too. All right. I think it's time for me to go. So thank you so much for joining on this live. It's great to see your comments come through. And if you are watching the recording, just write record below. Let me know what you found. What's one thing that you found valuable from watching this? If you don't have time, well, you probably will. If you've just joined in late, then you can listen to the podcast episode I'm releasing today about social proof. And I hope it's been helpful for you. All right. Have a wonderful Thursday evening / Friday morning if you're joining us live in Australia. Bye, everyone.